Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we've gathered here today, and it's just a few of us today. And we've got Alex with his clap. Yep, show us your clapper, Alex. There you go. And we are going to be talking about a film that's quite recent, only came out a few years ago, and it's Pride. So we're going to kick straight off. Let's go to Alex and Susan first, since they've got a nice, colourful background.
Hello, my name is Susan, and I used to be a minor, and I used to be a lesbian, and I used to march in the Pride parades, but I've never marched in a mining parade, and I've never been on a strike. So, there were some new things that I learned in this movie, and it was quite amazing. It had a really, really wonderful cast, which I will bring up for the next part of my discussion. And I am really grateful for the interaction between the gays and lesbians supporting the miners, and the miners eventually supporting the gays and lesbians and marching in their parade. And it was very much of a time. It was very much of the 80s. The music was beautiful and brilliant. I mean, there was Culture Club, for crying out loud. So that was, to me, super brilliant, super beautiful. And yes, it was really cool. And I enjoyed this movie a lot, and I'm really glad that you fellas suggested it because I'd never seen it, and now I'm really glad that I have.
And what does your bodyguard have to say about this?
Here's my bodyguard.
Oh, boy. All right, come on, guys. I did enjoy the movie. But again, I'm not that young, but I'm not that old. Plus, I was in America, so it's a little different there in terms of the gay and lesbian thing. I can remember hearing about reports about AIDS or HIV before in 1983. Also, I come from Massachusetts, and there still is a problem, not politically, but town to town and city to city, as to what they're willing to support in terms of gays and lesbians. But it is a lot better than it was in the 80s. In the 80s, Massachusetts still considered it underground, and it was considered more of the deviant lifestyle. It wasn't considered two legal adults and things of that nature. I did appreciate the movie. I don't know how realistic it is because I didn't exactly study that era or that problem or their political viewpoint. I did enjoy how they seemed to sort of balance it. I did enjoy that it wasn't just, it seemed to err on both sides. And I also did actually enjoy when they did vilify that woman that did sort of spy on them and try to threaten them and things like that. Because according to the movie, they were very fair. They were just. They didn't do anything, unlawful per se or untoward anybody. Even though the police may not have agreed with them, that also is, quote unquote, politically motivated. And again, as long as everybody's legal age and sane and sober, it's fine. So, again, because I didn't study that particular era, I don't know how much of this movie is factual. I don't know if they took any liberties in terms of the story. But as I said, in Massachusetts, there was a lot more of the type of people that said, "Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to get it from this," or "I'm afraid I'm going to get AIDS from that." But again, you have to look at the context, and you have to. What has it been since the 80s? 35 years on, or 36? and hopefully human beings evolve a little bit from 36 years ago. Well, not everybody, but most. So in that respect, I agree. I did agree with, and I can see what was his name? Jonathan, the very young guy, the photographer, or he was the photographer at the events.
Joe
Yeah,
Brumley.
the family that objected to his choice, to his lifestyle, is a little bit more like Massachusetts, that, you know, it's something to be ashamed of. It's something that you're brainwashed. That was more Massachusetts from 1950 to 1990. Like I said, politically, legally, it has changed, but there's still parts of Massachusetts that are, you know, looking at it that way, that it's, you know, that it's bad or corrupt or whatever. But I also enjoyed the fact that they showed that, you know, most people were caring about each other. Most people were willing to work with each other. So in that respect, I really did enjoy the movie for showing, you know, 90% good side of people working together, of people caring. In terms of politics, again, I'm an American, so I may be wrong about Thatcher and the politics there. But that being known, I know it was a very volatile time. I know that the government did have a lot of, how can I put this? A lot of people that they wanted to ignore, the homeless or the disaffected or people that couldn't find jobs. And unfortunately, that is a part of a lot of conservatism, even in America, that they consider it your fault if you can't get a job. They consider it your problem if you can't be rich. They don't care what the social, legal, or corporate interests are. They view it as your fault.
Alex, can I just butt in? We have that exact same problem now with this government.
Yeah.
You should see the poor everywhere and the homeless.
Yeah.
It is everywhere. There are homeless people everywhere, and the government just won't help.
Well, the other issue, even in America, is, and even Massachusetts and California, is the fact that you would basically have to make $300 to $400 an hour before taxes to even begin to afford a real private place to live.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
People judge homeless people. They do. People look down on homeless people. But the truth is, you don't know where you're going to be in a year's time. You don't know if you're going to be homeless. So everybody should treat each other with compassion and respect.
And if you're on strike and you're not working and stuff, your support base is you know, gone because
Exactly,
your
yeah.
income is gone, and scabs are taking your jobs and stuff. You know, those sorts of situations are hard. I mean, the major grocery chain in Everett and Chelsea, where we live, went on strike recently, and I mean, all of the political leaders of the you know, who are running for office for 2020 showed up to support them. However, you know, there were still scabs that crossed the picket lines to go to work.
Okay.
And I mean, it's just hard. It's just so hard.
Okay, but my main issue is this, and sadly, is that when you look at it financially, just on a spreadsheet, you would have to earn $300 to $400 an hour, and most companies aren't going to pay that. So that basically means, even for a place that you don't own, they want you to pay upwards of $2,300 plus, with no utilities included at all. No refrigerator, no water, no heat, no electricity. So they want $2,300 just for looking at the place. You haven't even agreed to live there, and they want that much money.
Renting's terrible in this country too. Renting's exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Where people can't afford to hardly pay the rent with the jobs that they've got, so they have to get another job.
Right.
And they work, sometimes free jobs, and they're working all week, and they're just about putting food on the table. In fact, most people on benefits are in work in this country.
Yep.
Because they can't afford the rent.
So We should ask Lee because he's actually a worker guy.
Well, do we have to? Does Lee's opinion
I
count?
don't.
Does Lee's opinion count?
Okay, let me also say this
We're going to have a vote.
Yep.
Should we go to Lee?
Yes, we're going to go to Lee. Let me just say one more thing. I'm physically disabled, but there was arguments about that from the state, from the feds, and because most people are physical, especially when I was a child, because there was so much prejudice against any condition, against any disability, and especially physical, they kind of said, well, that's kind of your problem. So if you can't, and these are people that are supposedly not conservatives, and they would say, well, you're not going to make a lot of money, so, just be grateful you're not sick. Even though my disability, you would need possibly 20 operations to fix. And they kind of go, well, as long as the government pays for it, don't bother us about it. And I went to tons of interviews. I went to tons of interviews in the 2000s where they said, well, Social Security will take care of you. Bye.
Well, to be honest, Alex, I think it's unacceptable that Lee isn't paying you for your time here. I think it's immoral. I think you're one of the best reviewers that we have out of all of them, and I think you make the most sense. And
okay,
and Lee should cough up the money.
Please send letters of complaint to.
Let's go on strike for Alex until Alex gets paid.
No, that's all right.
Very funny.
Let's go to Lee then.
Oh, is it me now?
No, let's go back to Susan.
No.
Susan, what are the comments saying?
Can I just? Where are all my lesbians?
I love that. You gays are here.
You gays are here.
Yeah, I love that. I love that woman.
I've just got to say, he's not here, but I've got to say a big thank you to Craig Johnson for putting this movie on to me a few years ago. We all know Craig.
Yes, yes, sadly.
We miss Craig.
We're trying to forget.
I asked him to come on today, but he was doing some exhibition work today.
Oh, not in the woods again. Oh, no.
I don't know what he's doing.
He's not in the park.
This is one of his favourite movies. And he got me into this movie. He said, oh, you want to watch this movie? It's absolutely brilliant. And I did. And I bought it. Yes, it's based on a true story.
Yep.
I don't know how true it is. Yeah. I know a certain few characters in it are real.
The ones who are mentioned at the end are all real.
Yeah. And he died, didn't he? The main one. He died of AIDS, didn't he? Yeah.
He died in 1987.
It's not long after.
Yeah,
age 26.
That's awful. That was really bad because he was great.
Played by the American actor. He was American. Played by Ben Schnetzler.
He did. I got to be fair. He did a good job, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did a really good job.
Mark Ashton was a good friend of Jimmy Somerville, who was the lead singer of Bronski Beat. This is why you got the Bronski Beat soundtrack into the movie as well, where they were playing.
Brilliant. Awesome.
But also, the character played by Imelda Staunton was real. Athena Hedden. She was real, and she died the year they made this movie. And also the Jessica Gunning, who played Shan James, who became a member of MP for Swansea, is real. That is a real person.
We don't have our Swansea cast member here.
No, but those characters I know were definitely real. For the others, I'm not too certain, but hey, it's a movie and it's a damn good movie. Yes, I'm one of these people. I was 14, 15 when the miners' strike was happening, but it was
He was 27.
It was affecting the whole country at the time. It was on the news constantly. You saw what the police were doing. You saw what
And they were brutal. They were brutal.
You saw what Thatcher was doing. And it was totally brutal. We never saw, because in those days you never saw the gay pride thing on TV. You never did.
No, I can imagine that. Yeah,
No.
I can believe that. Yeah.
You saw the police beating up miners, but you never saw the gay parade, gay pride parades or anything like that.
I think it brainwashed children, and then everybody would turn gay through their televisions from seeing the gay pride flag. They'd just hypnotise and be gay the next day. Yeah.
Close 28. What
was that? What was that thing again? 28.
Clause 28. It was
Clause
about
28.
We're having the same problem now about teaching youngsters in schools about same.
It's about families. It's about other people having different types of families. So some people have a mum and a mum. Some people have a dad and a dad, and some people have a mum and a dad, and some people just have a mum, and some people just have a dad, and some people are being brought up by their nans or their granddads. And it's about teaching kids that it's okay to have a different type of family apart from that isn't just a mum and a dad.
And the Conservatives, and especially Thatcher, was absolutely adamant of bringing Clause 28 and banning all this. And it's reared its ugly head again, just recently. But going back to the movie, I absolutely love this movie. It's gritty, it's funny, the soundtrack is amazing, the acting is brilliant. It's I don't know. It's one of these movies where a lot of people have missed out on this movie for some reason. I don't know why. It's one of those ones where you think you've watched it and you think, why doesn't more people know about this movie?
I know why they don't know about it.
Go on.
Because it's homophobia still exists.
Well, also because the stars of this aren't putting this first in their CV. I mean, if I was like Patty Considine or whatever, or Dominic West, I'd totally put this first.
But the problem is now, if say this film would be classed as woke or SJW.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
Because it's about people having equality.
Yeah.
And equality now is called SJW. No, equality is just human rights. Yeah. That's all equality is. It's about having human rights. It's not SJW.
Well, you know what it is too, is the fact that, like I said, 80 to 90% of the people in this movie are shown as decent, responsible, intellectual people. And unfortunately, that's been another, like Al just said, that defeats the stereotype that they were even talking about in the movie, flamboyant versus not flamboyant. Because even in the TV Simpsons episode, they still were, referencing disco, referencing flaming, referencing, flamboyant, as opposed to, why couldn't somebody just be human and be reasonable and be intellectual?
This is what I like. This is what I like about the film, and this is what I think the film gets across. And this is the message of the film. You've got two different groups of people, very different, very, very different. You've got the gay community, and you've got the miners, completely different. The miners are, yes, there were gay miners. Of course there were. There's a gay guy on the miners' side, but they're very different. But what connects everybody is that really we're all the same. We actually have more in common than we do that divides us.
Standing shoulder to shoulder.
And we suffer. The miners were fighting just like the gay people were fighting back then.
Oh yeah.
They were actually both on the same side.
Oh yeah.
Facing the same problems, facing discrimination, facing another side that wanted to shut them down. Gay people were being shut down by Thatcher's government. Miners were being shut down by Thatcher's government. The gay people and the miners had a lot in common. And it's the same thing today. Yeah. It's like we are still a minority. But guess what? So are Muslims in this country. So are Muslims. And they face the same discrimination that we face. And that's it. People have more in common than they realize. And most people, do you know what most people want? They just want to live their lives in peace and have a good life, because you only have one life.
Did you hear that little analogy or allegory, whatever that's called, that they used to show the unity? They talked about the same vein of coal runs from Pennsylvania to Wales to Spain. It's the self-same thing. The things that tie us together are global and universal.
Yeah, exactly.
And as deep as a vein of coal in the earth. And they tie us together in a really significant way.
There's two things everybody has in common. We all laugh the same. And we all cry the same.
Yep.
And tears are tears wherever they are in the world. And people have the same pains wherever they are in the world. Everybody being against each other just doesn't work.
Okay, well, here's another thing. Here's another thought as well. Even George Carlin, and he was a racy comedian, but a very intelligent comedian, said the reality is that and the way they want the world is the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich. They don't blend. They don't blend. Keep the classes separate.
Keep the classes. Yep, exactly.
So in other words, even though you're working, an honest job, even though you're paying taxes, even though you have to pay for your house or whatever you have, the people in the country club want to stay in the country club, and they don't want new people.
The oldest trick in the book is divide and conquer.
Right.
And governments are deliberately always dividing people.
Right. Well, here's another truth that people don't realize that we've been talking on and off this cast about, is the fact that just because there's a government doesn't equate or mean that the population is the same. In other words, I wouldn't blame Cubans for what the Cuban dictatorship or the Cuban totalitarian, slightly communist or slightly socialist government does. It's very different.
Because most people just want to live in peace.
Right. So
most people just want to live in peace.
Right. Most people, as they say, and they even said in the 70s, the struggle, whether you were black, the struggle whether you were a different race, the struggle of whether you were Puerto Rican, the struggle of whether you were disabled, the struggle of whether you were gay, the struggle of whether you were poor. And everybody seems to forget that. And it takes a long time, and history has shown that almost every group you can think of has been discriminated against, persecuted, unable to make money, unable to vote, unable to run for office or run their own businesses. And human beings want to do that. Most human beings don't say, I'm just going to give up and stay exactly the way I am and not try to achieve or not try to be, comfortable. And here's another truth: not all rich people are bad either.
Oh no, 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 not at all. No,
So
absolutely not. No.
all these labels, all these
Money
terms.
doesn't make you good, and it doesn't make you bad.
Well, and you also can't take it with you either. As a matter of fact, I know firsthand.
Let me know if you find a way, though, Alex.
And I know firsthand from talking to a lot of political figures in the state, especially if they're rich, they're worried about what will happen to the money after they die because they won't be managing it anymore.
No.
So that's another truth that, you know, people don't want to admit, is that, you know, once they're gone, money won't matter anymore.
But going back to the film, I also have to say that the acting in this from the cast, I've got to say, all across the board was excellent. Really, really. I mean, I'd never heard of, I'd say most of these actors before. Yeah, the lead I'd never heard of, or anything like that. Of course, I did. Bill Nighy, of course, everybody's heard of him. But most of the cast I hadn't heard of, and I thought they did an excellent job. And this is a small budget film, isn't it? Yeah, this is, and it's done. It's filmed really well. It's directed really well. It's got lots of humour, especially when the old women are asking about sex and lesbians and things like that. It's great, and they go. There's some really, really good scenes, and that's what I like about the film, is that it could be a really depressing film, because really it was a depressing time, and it's a depressing subject because it's about discrimination, and that's really depressing. But the film, even though it does have depressing moments and, you know, nasty characters, overall it shows things in a fun light, and it has a lot of good scenes, but it still has the importance of what happened and the reason why it was serious, and the reason why this happening back then was so important, because this was a big step. This was an important moment. You know, these people at this time in the 80s have gotten us to where we are today because of these people.
Well, of course, the other ironic point is that some of the people that they were supporting didn't want their help either.
No.
That, you know, imagine how.
Well, the miners didn't want their help at first. The miners didn't want the help, and then they came at the end to help them.
Most of them.
Yeah, most. Yeah, but I love that bit at the end. That's my favorite part of the film. Yeah. So yeah, let's go on to your favourite scenes. Let's go to Lee, because he's been quiet for a while and it's unusual and he's beginning to itch. Is it a full moon? No, we're all right.
This, as you said, it could have been a depressing film, but it's the politically minded film. Also, you've got to put humour in it, and they did put humour in it. Committee went down to London, going to the clubs.
Yeah, I love that bit.
So. And then there was in the room and she found stuff under his bed.
Yeah.
And Elder Staunton was just brilliant. Yeah. You've got some great actors here. You've got the bookshop owner who got beat up. People know him more for playing Moriarty in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes TV series. And then you've got James Gilgan as Mike. The put upon Mike with the woolly hat all the time. You know, he's gone from Emmerdale to this to appearing in the TV series Preacher as the vampire. You know, great character actors. So you've got Dominic West, you've got Bill Nighy, a great ensemble cast. But it's just the way that the community this small community. You go, and I start to begin to feel that Stephen Price has been telling the truth all this time about Wales. But it's just a desolate place with one phone box at the end of the street.
Yeah, but can I just say, I was brought up in a village like this, and they still exist.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can tell from the way you.
I was brought up in a village like this. Yeah. You had to go to the end of the road to ring somebody on it. A phone box.
It's just the way that from the film where that the community is so wary about this little group of gays and lesbians, and then
but they're not used to the outside world. They're not used to the outside world. It's strange to them. It's weird. They don't understand it.
But then they start to warm to them, and then they love them. They'll support them. And I mean, the scene where I want to take dancing lessons. It's just little things like that. It was just brilliant. But you say it's also the bad side of it as well. The beating up of gays, HIV. I mean, a little cameo from Russell Tovey, which where he meets Mark on the stairs in the club.
Oh yeah.
I'm celebrating my going away.
Yeah.
He was dying, and he knew he'd be with Mark. Look after yourself. And then 2 years later, Mark.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, just little things
they were
like
together, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great mixture of bit of drama, bit of really gritty drama, and then comedy mixed together, and it works so well. It really does. And the soundtrack, 80s soundtrack for me, wins every time as well. Shame on you. Come on, let's go. You go.
No.
All right.
I'm not paid enough for that. That's above my pay grade.
You're not paid anyway. What are you on about?
I mean, Susan Ray didn't like the 80s soundtrack.
Anyway, I mean, here's
she can't stand Boy George or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, here's another reality as well, is that they're supporting people that they didn't have to support, and we're all human, and we all want to live our lives, and we all want to have choices and independence. And here's another reality as well. Just because you work a certain job doesn't mean you have, and the world has changed too. You don't have to work. I don't know if it's true in England, but in America, it's very hard now to work for the same company doing the same job for 20, 50 years anymore, because the world has changed so much. This is not the 1940s to the 1990s where you work the same job.
But the miners do work the same job.
Okay, that's fine.
See, once you're
but the thing is with the miners,
once you've trained in a mine and you have to go through all of that and you join the union, it pretty much becomes your job for your life until you die.
Yeah, but let me just explain.
Even amongst all the modern miners that I know, once you're in that industry, like my parents are still in the industry. They started in the industry in the 1970s, in the early 70s, and they're still in it. And they will be until they pass away.
Okay, but their jobs have changed, though. That's my point.
Not really.
Yeah,
but wait there, Alex. Because back then in these Welsh communities, all generations of these communities, which they were built around mines.
Right. No, I understand.
Generations, all the houses, everybody. Yep. Would be in the mines. Yeah, everybody in those villages would be in the mines, right. and so would their every single generation where they lived, right. Because that was what the village was built around, was those mines. So that would be their job. And the thing is, when they were closed, there's communities today in Wales that have high levels of unemployment. Because their generations used to work in those mines. And of course, it's not that long ago, is it? It's only 30 odd years ago.
Right.
And they're all gone.
Yeah, well, but here, But
the problem is the people and those communities, those villages still exist.
Right.
Just the jobs for the mines are not there.
Okay,
and that's what they were built around.
As we know, if we study economics and history, as I just mentioned, not everybody has the same job for life. Yes,
Oh, you
there
would
has
back
been.
then? No, 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 no. You would then. Honestly, you
would
would
then,
then.
right.
When you've worked in the mines, your kids would work in the mines. Your granddad would have worked in the mines. Everything like that. That
Right.
was a mining. That's what they called them, mining villages. That's what they did.
Right. No,
Else?
I remember because there were books and even other TV shows that they explained, being a miner in the 1900s or whatever, and they would get sick or they would get disabled because they were down there too long,
Oh yeah, lots of them would die. I mean, lots of them would get injury and they couldn't.
Yeah,
they
miner's
couldn't-
lung and all these other things.
But
But here's
coal
the
mines are pits.
right. Okay. All right. But what I'm saying is, even in America, there's been people, their father is a policeman, their grandfather is a policeman. It is a different job. It's still a dangerous job, though.
But do you know what's a shame about? Oh no, go on, Lee, and then I'll go on to what I was going to say.
Well, I was gonna change the subject there, but also you see, you've got the film is the struggle of the miners, the struggle of the
Gage, yep,
community, but it's also the struggle of Joe
yeah,
of not coming out to his family.
of his family, yeah.
That is really, really truthful.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. And it always comes out that, you found out by mistake, which he was in this, by someone just raking through his bookshelf and found something in a book. And all hell breaks loose. You've got three struggles in this movie. As I said, the miners, the gay community, and the in the closet sort of coming out struggle, which it's done so well in this movie. The actor who played Joe, stroke Bromley, was just brilliant.
Yeah.
I've actually got a question for you, Lee. You don't have to answer it, but what age did you come out?
Hold on a minute.
That's if viewers know he's gay, by the way. Then he's coming out today. Congratulations, Lee.
Today.
You're gay today, darling.
Oh, darling.
How possible is you're gay today, darling?
Oh. Carry on.
No, what age did you come out when? Because you were growing up around this time.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, but this is when you were growing up. Yeah,
You brought it up, Lee. Answer the question.
Oh. When did you, Susan?
I was about 13, and I told my mom.
Good.
I mean, my first girlfriend was when I was 9, so.
Wow, 9.
Yeah, she was 10.
Got in there early. Alex is thinking, "Oh my God, who am I with?"
No, he knows.
I'm only joking.
But so when did Lee come out?
I'm trying to remember. It was roughly. Could have been. It was in the 86.
Okay, let me see that from the
Somewhere around that area.
Oh wait, there. Alex has got a coming out story. Oh, this is gonna.
Okay, well, here's my struggle. Okay, because
He's coming out. Oh my God, Alex is coming out.
In the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, I still had people going, "It probably doesn't work."
What doesn't work?
It probably doesn't work. Or maybe it's not there and stuff like that. So I had to worry about if I was going to have any partner.
Oh, right. Sorry, I did. Oh,
Never
right.
mind what persuasion.
Let Lee finish.
That's fine. Lee's
Yeah. Let Lee finish. Lee hasn't said when he came out.
I did.
Did you when? 1989?
Do you know, I can't remember, but it was the late 80s, somewhere around there, late 80s, somewhere around
So you would have been in your 20s?
Something like that.
Early 20s, yeah.
It's all a blade. It's so long ago.
Yeah.
I kind of was a big deal.
A lot harder back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when did you come out, Alad?
Last week.
Yeah.
We'll never get the truth out of Aled. Come on, Aled, please.
I know. Ask your questions of people you're not going to answer yourself.
There you go.
All right, okay. Well, technically, my mum always knew that I was gay.
Cool.
I mean, I liked ABBA.
Oh,
Well, the thing is,
if you like ABBA, that's automatically your.
Can I say, my mum's dad was gay.
Mhm.
My mum's dad was gay, so she kind of assumed and worked out that I was gay. And you know what? My mum's cool with absolutely anything and anyone. You know, I've got the best mum, really. I mean, she doesn't care who anybody is, what anybody is, as long as you're a good, decent person who doesn't steal, doesn't do drugs, doesn't, stuff like that. Then she doesn't mind who you are.
Yeah, and that's another
She's
thing.
all for everybody being who they are. Yeah. So,
Well, this is another
it's never a
question.
problem for me.
Yeah.
And my dad's never been bothered either.
Okay. Here's another question. Even though it was the late 70s, I knew about people that were saying, I'm bisexual or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, I was a kid, and my mother didn't want me to spend time alone with them, but it wasn't, she wanted it supervised, of course, because that was also a big problem in America at the time too, of molestation and all. Some of that really was overblown by the media as well. But again, you can be what you want to be as long as you're legal, sober, and honest. But there has been other movies, and other TV shows that did discuss it. Of course, not as fair and not as even and not as intellectual. So that's why I'm not mentioning it. But it was, there were TV shows that had gay characters in the 70s and
I mean, the gay
75 and things
characters
like that.
on TV in the UK would have been something like, Are You Being Served, wouldn't they, Lee? What's his name off Are You Being Served? I'm free.
Humphreys. Humphreys.
Yeah, Humphreys, yeah.
And Melvin Hayes in some like.
And it's odd because even though there was a high level of homophobia in the 70s and 80s, a lot of the entertainers were gay, and they were very camp. I mean, look at Larry Grayson, look at Kenneth Williams.
Look at John Nathan Turner, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because on one hand, you had people who were homophobic, but yet they were sitting there and they would be entertained by a gay man on telly with his humor. Wow. And they'd be sitting there watching him with no problem at all.
Yeah. Well, as we know, that was the other issue, and that's why it was brought up in Beretta. That's why, even though it wasn't always fair, why it was brought up in Barney Miller, and it was fair considering the time period of 1975 to 1979, was the fact that there was an underground, there was a subculture, and it also was shame as well, because a lot of people were shocked when they realized that Rock Hudson was probably gay or bisexual, because it just wasn't encouraged. It wasn't encouraged to be honest.
But in the United States, we'd at least had a riot over it.
Right, okay.
I mean, Stonewall Riot happened years ago, and the United States was like, you got to come out, or I mean, even in Montana, which is like, it was dangerous to do it. People died from coming out of the closet. I got my butt beat up. But anyway,
I had my butt beat up
like
so many times.
Pushing people out was
at Pride.
What?
I've had my butt so beat up at Pride before.
No,
but in a different way.
No, I know what you're saying.
Okay,
but anyway, like I was saying,
sometimes in pubs, and I've got banned from them. But let's not go there.
No, but again, here's what I'm saying. Is that people forget that they're from the 30s, even other countries in the 30s to the 80s, You could be gay as long as everybody else in the world didn't know about it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
difference. Is that even some of the politicians
But
and
after
other
the 69, it was like come out.
oh wait, I'm saying in other countries, Susie,
Okay.
is that it took a while to evolve. That's why, right? That's why they had the term closeted, because you couldn't
Yeah, it had to be
get
in the closet. Yeah.
everybody that this is what you wanted to do, be, or anything like that.
True.
You could do it with very.
I mean, look at Alan Turing,
Yeah.
who helped win the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically saved, us from invasion. He basically saved the world, and look how we treated him afterwards because he was gay.
Yeah.
Yet he probably saved every single person in at least my country and across Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again,
True.
And then we go on to treat him as we did.
Yeah. Well, here's the other issue, and I don't know if it was true in England per se because I don't live there, but from the 60s to the late 80s, people were still having arguments about Vietnam soldiers. They had already done their job. They had already been over there. And they still had to have movies that showed, the suffering, the violence, and all that. So but what I'm saying is the problem of trying to get everybody to be understanding and evolve and not just go, well, I don't like it or I don't agree with it, so you don't exist to me, basically. That's what I'm saying.
I just want to add as well, it is still so important to have pride. And it's still important to have pride events and carnivals and stuff like that, because there's still a lot of homophobia. I mean, I don't know whether I don't know how much UK news you get in America, but
we
there's
heard,
been a
we
lot
heard about the couple on the tube
that were attacked because they were lesbian,
we heard.
and their faces were bloodied and everything. It still happens today, and it happens regularly.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't perform for
straight guys, yeah, because they wouldn't perform for a couple of straight guys, so they got beaten up. It still happens.
Yeah.
Homophobia still happens. People still get beat up. People still get kicked out of their homes. People still suffer that discrimination, and that's why it's so important to still fight it, because it's still here.
Yeah. I mean, again, unfortunately, that's the bad side of human nature. We still have commercials in Massachusetts that usually is a very liberal state that says, don't discriminate against families, don't discriminate against black people, don't discriminate against disabled people. And because the landlords will go, I'm scared of losing money, or I'm scared you're going to sue me, so, go away, go away, go away.
I stand up for anybody's right to be who they are, whether you be straight, gay, lesbian, whether you be black, white, whether you be even trans, which the trans community gets a lot of stick.
Yeah,
and they get a lot of abuse from the media and from people in general. And it's not right, and we have to stand up to it all.
Yeah.
Because
my heroes have always been trannies.
There's still discrimination in this state. They ran a commercial making it sound like it was all perverts. It was male perverts that were going to invade all the bathrooms in the state.
Yeah, I remember that was a few years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
They're still doing it here.
They're still doing it.
Massachusetts. They ran a commercial that made it sound like they were going to be male perverts in drag trying to invade all the bathrooms, just like in Massachusetts. They had a commercial that said, if you legalize marijuana, everybody's going to be high on it, including the kids.
That's off topic.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, it's discrimination is what I'm saying.
Do you know what beats discrimination?
What's that?
Education.
Yeah.
Educating people. Only people that are ill-educated discriminate, I tend to find.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, when you get to know people, it's like a few years ago, there wasn't a lot of this trans people didn't feel like they could come out or they had a voice or they could be who they are. And it's like, but now people are getting more educated about it. People are getting more educated. And because we're hearing more about it, you're getting a bigger backlash of people that don't want to understand it. But when you become friends with people, you learn, like I said, that we are all the same and we all have the same worries. We all have the same fears. And people have the same likes as well. There are a lot of Doctor Who fans because we're all Whovians here. And, Doctor Who spreads across black people, white people, gay people, straight people, trans people, disabled people, everything. Doctor Who is such a big, vast, wide community.
Yep.
So,
And we all have the same interests. We all have the same fears, no matter who you are. We all just want to live our lives and be happy.
You know what I find really, really wonderful is that when I went to the Women's Lunch Place, which is a resource outfit for women in downtown Boston, they are strictly for women, and they do not discriminate against trans women, against women in drag. They just don't. There is no lines drawn. It's just really, really refreshing to go into that community or into that helpful place and have it be completely. I just wanted to give you one positive thing in the midst of this discussion that I've seen recently that is sort of revelatory.
well, again, that's the other irony of human nature, is that even here that is supposedly so liberal and open-minded, they still discriminate against midgets. They are little people. They still. Do you know how many little people wait a minute. Excuse me, honey. Relax. Okay. You know how many little people that had come up to me and go, "How come you were the first one to shake my hand and say your name and look me right in the eye and not pretend that I wasn't there?" And I said, "Hey, you're a human being."
Exactly. There you go. See, that's what it is. That's what it's about. And that's why Alex is a decent human being, because he recognizes that other people are just human beings. We're all the same. Don't matter who you are. I don't care who you are. Don't care how much money you've got. You treat people as human beings. End of. Now, Lee, do you want to talk more about the film, or are you ready to wrap up?
Let's talk midgets.
What happens when you go off topic?
See, Alex, what you've done.
Way off topic.
I didn't say anything bad or wrong.
No,
but at the end of the day, this is all related, because we are talking about Pride.
All right.
And the film is called Pride. It is about these issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alex,
that's fine.
Forgive me.
Well, I've got one other thing I've got to say about the movie is, as I say, they set it in.
Oh, I forgot about the movie.
Yeah, what they set it in 1985. The costume design, the scenery.
Yeah. But mind you, those Welsh villages wouldn't have changed at all.
I'm saying it just brought it all back. It was just like you was there. So they did
the van they drive in as well.
And it is a bit. I hate to say, but it is a BBC film. I'm not.
Oh, is it BBC? Is it BBC made?
BBC film with someone else, I think.
Yeah, someone else. I saw it was someone else.
Yeah, CBS Films and another company.
Title?
Yeah, with CBS Films, BBC Films, and another company. I can't remember what it is.
Was it working title?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was three.
It's BBC Films, 20th Century Fox, and Pate.
Oh,
Oh,
Pate.
pate. Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Pathé, as we like to say over here.
Pate. Yeah, not pat. Yeah, not
Yeah.
pate.
Well, here's another reality that I think a lot of people don't realize. If you don't evolve, you also either stagnate or die.
Well,
And I think that's the other thing that people forget is that the society changes, whether it's
You turn
subculture or
into Lee.
not. Right. Now, the problem is the people in power, unfortunately, may need to change. But even that's starting, because in America, we have the most women elected to a congressional, body. So,
And that can only be a good thing, because men have done enough damage to this world.
okay. But absolute power corrupts absolutely, though.
Yeah.
I mean, arrogance is arrogance, no matter what,
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I just say as well, I've just looked at the cover and it reminded me of the Dominic West character. He was a true character, and he was the second person in the UK to be diagnosed HIV.
Oh yes, I think I think I remember. I heard it, yeah.
The credits of that movie, he was celebrating his 65th birthday.
Yeah.
Still alive back in 2014. I don't know if he's still with us now, but the HIV/AIDS campaign thing. You're all going to die.
That was pretty shocking. I mean, I wasn't born in those times, but I was born in '88. But
they even put the advert in the film with the voiceover from John Hurt.
Yeah, that's shocking. Yeah, with the tombstone. Yeah,
they used to show that straight after kids' TV on BBC One. After I don't know, Blue Peter. That came on.
Wow, that's a little scary, actually.
And that's what frightened a lot of people about their children being gay and things like that, because AIDS was a really big thing then.
Mm.
Of course, Freddie Mercury died of AIDS.
Wow.
Oh yeah, a few people, a few famous people did.
Well, yeah, quite a few people, and lots of people have died from AIDS. But now, I mean, it's different. You can. I think there's virtually a cure now, isn't there, for AIDS?
It's a bit just slightly ironic that the Dominic West character was the second person to be diagnosed with it. And
that's quite, yeah.
No, he was still, and he what did he put it down to? Smoking the grass.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of famous people in this state as well that were diagnosed with AIDS, but they didn't admit it until like 1 year before their death. But as I mentioned before, things have evolved 35 years later. Now it's not a death sentence because it can be controlled.
No, you can live with it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can cure it now.
No, not a cure per se, but
I think they're pretty close. Haven't they cured some people of it? Early trials?
I saw something in the news a few months back or last year. There was something that they had a breakthrough. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that ACT UP kept the heat on and kept like silence equals death. They kept the heat on and kept research happening and kept funneling money into the research and development of cures.
Also, you've also got a big thank you to Elton John.
Yeah, with the AIDS, he did the AIDS campaign, didn't he? Yeah.
Since the death of Freddie Mercury, every bit of money from the sales of his records goes to AIDS.
And he has an AIDS charity, doesn't he? He does AIDS. He does funding, charity events to raise money for AIDS. Yeah.
Every bit of money he earns now goes to that because, as he said, he doesn't need it.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's why I like Elton John, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I do like Elton John. I know he can be probably a bit rude sometimes, but he's doing something good, isn't he? And he's doing something good with his money. He's a multi-million billionaire, whatever, I don't know, and he's giving it.
He saw a very good friend die, Freddie Mercury, and it shocked him, and he did something about it.
And you've got to remember, he's probably thinking it could have been him, really.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been him.
Well, here's the thing. Viruses and diseases don't discriminate.
That's the thing. Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
Here's the thing: when you get sick, you get sick. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. You know, like the old joke used to say. The mortician said, "Everybody's equal in the ground in my eyes." You know, and the nice thing is, we've evolved. We've evolved where people live longer. Yes, some with medicine, some with therapy, some with both. But the important thing is, there's evolution. People are changing. Not every.
Discrimination only comes from one place on this planet. And have you got any ideas where that is? Discrimination comes from one place and one place only on this planet.
Swansea. Oh, right. So, sorry. I was wrong, wasn't I?
Yeah. I don't know what did you say. I'm listening. I
said Leicester and Swansea.
Oh, very funny.
Well, that's two places, so you're wrong. That's too late. Somebody didn't learn in school.
And as for the
case you're wasted in health.
As for what Alex said about everybody's evolving, more people evolve more than others, shall we say? There's still some people what are still in the gutter.
Okay, but the important thing is it is happening.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
Not 100%, but history has shown that everything takes time. And
just like these casts.
Yeah, the evolution of you don't stay in one place in one mindset. You change. You know. Yeah, you know what.
So would you say that you've changed, Alex, over the years? Have you become more open? You know, more accepting, and or have you always been?
Right. Well, again, you know, I mean, some things were cultural, some things were, like I said, the prejudices I had to deal with is, what race are you? You're disabled. You're probably, because the old stereotype was, if you were physically disabled, then you also were mentally disabled.
Yeah, that's
a very small percentage, but you were. And unfortunately, part of it that they've actually succeeded in changing is that was a big problem in the Latin and Spanish communities, is that there was a sort of fatalism that if your child was born with the disease, that meant that God cursed you, or God cursed.
I hate all that stuff.
And stuff like that. So again, here's the other reality, just like Lee said, and even Woody Allen, not a great example, unfortunately. But
where's Woody Allen in this cast?
Wait a minute, no, but he said, if you make everybody the same, there's always going to be a percentage that will hate, you know, for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, like you've got red hair, or you've got blue eyes, or you've got your fingers are too long. I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Remember too, all the prejudice that we used to have about the Russians. It's not about the Russians. It's about the Russian government.
Yeah, exactly. It's the government. It's governments. People just want to be happy wherever they are, whether they be in Russia. I mean, people in North Korea. Do you think people in North Korea want war? No, of course they don't. No one wants war. It's just governments that want war.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
It's just they get the people that don't want war to fight in those wars.
Right.
Right. And it was also the evolution of people protesting the Vietnam War and people evolving and saying, we're going to change things now. We're not going to have the same thing be stuck in the same decade forever and ever and ever.
But what about Lee, still stuck in the 80s?
Oh, boy.
And he openly admits he's stuck in the 80s.
That's not a bad thing.
Well, music-wise and TV-wise, maybe. I don't know.
So he's stuck with John Nathan Turner as showrunner as Doctor Who forever.
Oh, dear.
I'm happy with that.
Well, no.
You're the only one, Lee. You're the only one.
Another TV show said, the decades may change and it may have a different mentality, but human nature is really what you have to worry about, not the decade to decade. But human nature, whether human nature changes is what you really have to worry about.
And even with history, there's one thing that we learn from history, is that we learn nothing at all.
Well, if you don't learn from
That
your
is so
mistakes,
true.
you're doomed to repeat it as well.
Yeah, exactly. You're always, yeah, exactly. And how many times have we repeated stuff that hasn't worked in the past? Yeah, like these casts. Yeah, we've been doing these for like 3 years, and we still haven't learned.
Nope.
And we're going to be here next week doing the same thing.
Oh, God, help me now.
Anyway, let's go to final say and score because we do have another 10 casts to do after this.
I'm very funny.
Endless podcasting.
Yeah, we should do. You know what? One day we should do a 24-hour marathon.
And stream
What
it
Alex
live.
is saying now.
And stream it live on YouTube.
Yeah.
Stream it live on YouTube.
Don't you people have lives?
What, in Hull?
What do you mean, you people?
Very funny.
Obviously, I'm kidding. But.
Alex, why are you asking that question? He's from Hull.
Oh, dear. Oh, I see. Oh, discriminating against people from where they come from. That's original.
Look, I'm not for discrimination. I've said this many times. You can be gay, you can be straight, you can be black, you can be white, you can be whatever you are born as and who you are.
As long as you're not from Hull?
But as long as you're not from Hull. If you're from Hull, I'm sorry, that is just not acceptable. That is just asking me to accept something I morally disagree with.
Oh,
and I'm not going to do it.
Can I just say something? At least I'm not Welsh.
I really don't think they should be classed as humans.
Oh dear.
And I don't think they should be part of society.
Well, we're from America.
Yeah, well, you've got your own problems.
Seriously. Anyway, we're obviously kidding, guys.
Let's just tie these veins of coal together from Leicester to Hull to Boston and complete this cast.
Yeah, really. It's going on forever.
Yeah, because really, when you think about it, us here, we are all different. We're from different parts of, it might be the country or even the world with Susan and Alex. And, we're all different. But yet, we come on here and we insult each other every week.
Crikey.
Yeah.
And nothing is more equal than that, right?
We have a mutual hatred towards each other.
And nothing is more human than that.
Yeah. we have a mutual hatred towards each other. It's like, I completely detest Alex and Susan, but here I am tolerating them.
And the other thing that's important, stay tuned for the roast that is happening right now. And not only that, but we're an equal opportunity offender.
Yes, I don't discriminate in these casts because I hate them all equally. I hate them all equally. I do not discriminate.
All right, so let's get back to the movie review.
Really? That's the first time I've ever heard Alex say that. Can I just say?
Here we go. I'm actually going to give the movie a 9, and I like how balanced it is. I like how well it's written. I like the fact that it.
Excuse me. Do you mind? Have I said final say and score?
I did.
You said it to Lee.
Wait, no. Well, I didn't say. Is he Lee?
There's 3 Lees on this now.
Take the glasses off for you, Lee.
That's name, and all the other names you can get rid of.
Right. So let's go to final say and score, and let's start off with Alex.
We just did.
No, we're trying again. No disobedience in this cast when I'm hosting.
There you are. That was a quick one, wasn't it?
A 9. Okay, let's go to Susan, of course.
All right. Well, I will give this a 10. Beautiful music, wonderful movie, heartwarming, sort of makes me want to, dance to Bronski beat till I can't stand up anymore, like that sort of thing. It was really great, and power to the people. Okay.
I broke a nail.
Oh.
Poor Alan.
I broke a nail.
Oh.
I'm really upset now.
Poor Alan.
So a 9, a 10. Let's go to Lee.
Next time, break your neck.
How that is outrageous.
I didn't say that. Did I say that out loud? I must have said that out loud. For me,
Can you believe he said that, Susan?
brilliant cast, brilliant acting, brilliant story, dramatic, brilliant soundtrack. Let me just look under the bed for my score.
God knows what's under his bed.
I'm going to give it 10 dildos out of 10.
Oh, fantastic. But what are you going to give the film?
No. Glad he didn't reach it.
There.
Show us.
Unknowingly, they're well-used ones too.
Here.
Oh dear. So anyway, it's been a 9, a 10, a 10, and it's going to be another 10. Because I think this film balances out everything very well when you have to remember this still has to be a film. And it still has to tell a story. And it's a really tricky thing to do because it's based on real life. And it's based on, bad things that happened and, sad times really for both the miners and the gay community. And it balances it well because it gives the miners side of the story and it gives the gay community side of the story. And it really blends really well. And you've got the sad moments, but you've also got the moments that are light-hearted, that are heartwarming, and you've also got the funny moments. So it's not, even though it's a depressing subject, because it is, homophobia is a depressing subject, but it's fun. The film is, you don't watch the film and then feel bad afterwards and feel upset, because most gay people have at some point been attacked for being who they are, have suffered homophobia. I mean, I know I have, and probably Lee has too. I'd imagine that Lee has had, homophobic abuse at some point. He might not remember it, but he probably is at some point.
And anybody in the miners' union, the United Mine Workers, in the 80s was attacked.
Well, again, but
brutalized by bullets and
the police,
hoses.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. The movie also showed that people did evolve. Not 100%.
Okay.
But they also showed in the movie that people did evolve and things did get better. And the other thing that was good was the characters evolved as well. They didn't stay the same. They grew.
And Bill Nighy's character coming out.
Yes, I've always known since 1968.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I've got to say, I do like the way Alex and Susan have got into the spirit of things with their flag behind them. I've always loved a ride flag.
That's
because you like a ride.
Blocked by the lamps, unfortunately.
Especially on his dildo. Yeah. Preferably 10 of them.
Hey. We're not getting
That's
that
exactly what his
now.
face looks like when he's riding.
We're not getting that specific now.
In fact, who knows? They might not be under the bed after all.
Oh dear. Well, as I said, it was. I also thought it was very charming that the movie was very pragmatic as well, and I liked how both sides didn't say we're just going to stay the way we are. We're not going to challenge anything. You know, both sides challenged, even if they didn't completely.
Yeah, because what happens is people, everybody fears the other person, really. People are very protective, and people are very fearful of their culture, of their communities. And when new people come along, like a group of new people, say like the gay people did with the miners, they get cautious because they think, well, who are these people? But when you get to know people, as I say, you learn, you get on with them because you learn everybody's the same, and you laugh at the same things, and you enjoy the same things, and you also get upset about the same things. And then that's when you get to know people, you get on with people. You get on with people because you find things in common. You find things you like, and you work out that really we're all the same, and
Well,
that's what you find out.
Even the setbacks, the setbacks presented in this movie.
Yeah, the homophobic attacks. Yeah, and yeah.
Or religious people saying that it's wrong, or people saying you're different, and we don't want you around. And also the women that were volunteering were encouraged to even do more for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying about evolution, is that even the setbacks weren't permanent. They didn't unpack and say, well, we're going to stay depressed. We're going to stay hidden. We're going to stay, feeling sorry for ourselves. Almost no one in this film did that. Almost nobody in this film said, we're going to stay the same. We're not going to change. We're not going to evolve. We're going to just, be self-pity, and that's it. They all changed. They all did something, even when they were scared or upset. They did something to improve not only their life but other people's lives as well. And that's what human beings should do.
But it's just a shame that religion doesn't want to seem to move on. I mean, in some religious people are very, very. I mean, my mum is religious. My mum believes in God, but my mum believes that everybody is created equally, and everybody is who they are, and everybody should be who they are, and that's it. She's not one of these religious people who think, well, the Bible says this and that, and this is wrong and that's wrong. No, because she just believes people are born who they are, and they're meant to be who they are. That's why they're born who they are. That's exactly why they're born who they are. So, and that's the type of religion I like. I don't like the religion that is, you should discriminate against this group of people because they're wrong and they shouldn't exist. That's the religion I don't like.
I mean, again.
Anyway,
You just hold the microphone.
I mean, again, people forget that there's such a thing as free will and life. And again, to evolve, that means that you change. You're not the same at age 9 that you are at 18, that you are at 24, that you are at 34. You know what I mean?
And I also don't care what people say. You are born who you are. But
that's another thing.
But wait, you are born who you are, but you choose religion. Human rights should always be above religious rights.
Right. Okay. I don't know if you choose religion, because sometimes it's called. Hey, Alad. Let's just turn away from this.
Can I just say something? Because my mum and dad were religious, but I was brought up religiously. I went to church, etc., stuff like that. However, I've chosen not to be religious.
But I mean,
I can't choose not to be gay.
All right, I'm going to argue here.
Religion is a choice.
I'm going to argue here because there is a whole Indian part of the Commonwealth. Your Commonwealth that is completely tied into their family's religion, and it's so cultural, and it doesn't. You can't really separate it out from the family. So, Alan,
you don't come out believing in God. You don't come out of your mum's womb believing in God, but you do come out gay, and you do come out trans. You do come out those things. Wherever you are in the world, Susan, wherever you were born, you'll still be Susan. But wherever you're born, you wouldn't be that religion. You could have been born in a Muslim family and you'd be Muslim, but you'd still be Susan.
Hang on.
You still be who you are.
Let me just say this. If your point is that culturally it could affect you or your environment could affect you, then
That's it. It's the environment. It's the environment that makes you. If you're born in a religious family, you will at first be religious, but you're not born religious. There's a difference. You're not born religious because it's environment. That's the environment that you're brought up in. You're brought up to be told that this is the religion and this is the God that you should believe in. These are the rules, but you're not born with those rules. You're not born with that religion.
Okay,
that is selected by who you live with.
But here's what I'm trying to say. If you have free will and a conscience, hopefully people do. Not everybody does, sadly. But again, if you study history, regardless of religion or even because of religion, has changed some things in history, sadly. But here's the thing. Human nature is human nature.
Oh, yeah,
Some
definitely.
people are very religious. Some people are very spiritual. Some people are very devoted to a church. Unfortunately, we've seen, because of the news and all that sadly you can't trust the institutions. But here's the thing.
But
hopefully, I'm sorry.
No, you're not born with it. No.
But you're not born that way.
True. You're not born that way. That's true. But you are born with a heart, with a mind, with a conscience, and hopefully, unfortunately, you can't guarantee things in life, sadly, but hopefully, you can stand back, like Lee said, like Al had said, and realize that we're all human.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. We're all born human. That's it.
Okay. I just would like to have this thing sort of wash away now, because I have some opinions about this that I do not wish to voice, because I don't want this to devolve into something that it's really not. It is about a movie. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's completely fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's end this or turn the conversation some other place besides religion.
Let's turn it back to hell.
Oh, dear.
Because I love talking about hell.
There's no religion in Hull. We don't believe in it.
Well,
No. I don't want Susan to get confused. I'm not saying people shouldn't be religious, by the way.
I know exactly what you're saying, but
it's totally fine. People can believe whatever they want to believe. Yeah.
Oh God, let's just finish, okay?
Right. Okay. Well, I give it a 10. Lee's giving it a 10. Susan's giving it a 10. Alex is giving it a 9.
Right. There you go. Thank you for accurately representing.
Remember to send your complaint to. Anyway, we'll give Alex address. We'll give Alex's address down below so you can send your complaints his way for giving this film a 9. But really, if you haven't seen this film, you really, really should, because it didn't do very well at the box office. I did check what it did at the box office, and it it did really bad at the box office. Let's just put it like that. But it definitely deserves more publicity, and it definitely should be watched because it's a great film. It doesn't matter whether who you are or where you're from. A good film's a good film, and it tells a story, and it tells a true story which really happened. So it's definitely worth a watch. And I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me, even Alex. I'd like to thank you for watching. Look after yourself. Take care. We will see you next time.